Hello, SEO Arcade. I'm Jeff Coyle, the co-founder and chief strategy officer for Market Muse. And I'm so excited today to be joined by Stephen Jeske, our content strategist at Market Muse. And Stephen, we live our lives inside building and estimating and predicting traffic. What are the concepts that we're going to get into today that you think that people will be most interested in?
You know what? I'm just so happy to have a chance again to talk with you about this. It's actually really fascinating. I think a lot of people will be surprised when they realize that the way that they approach this is, for better or worse, it's kind of fundamentally flawed. And I guess that's just me being polite.
Well, that's fun. And, so what we're going to do is estimate and predict traffic potential more effectively. And, the why for that is we want to be able to go to, the budget holder. I want to be able to go to Stephen. Stephen decides what Market Muse writes. And I'm going to say, hey, here's a great idea for a content item. But I want to be able to deliver the why. And I want to be able to estimate the upside potential of this page, maybe a new page, or creating this new page and updating a collection of pages that may be connected to it, so that I'm not just talking about this, myopically or from a lens of, one data point. I'm truly getting close to predicting outcomes. And that's the nature of what we're talking about today. So, Stephen, the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously, I bet you can guess it. What is the North Star that we need to knock out of the sky? What do you think?
Topic volume, Jeff.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
50.
Yeah. So search volume, calculating and predicting how much traffic a page is going to get with search volume is fundamentally problematic, right? It's not just because every search result's different, but that's really critical, right? So every search result, the organic results are at different points from a pixel depth and how many pixels you got to go. Some search results on page one or continuous scroll, or however you want to talk about it, right, are going to have a different click-through rates, right? But then also only looking at search volume for this one word doesn't tell the story of the page. So it's separating, divorcing search volume of a word from what's this page going to get that's critically important to get. And once you get those 2 points in place, you can see that there's just so much error. One way to easily think about this error is you're going for one word, that focus topic, that target keyword, right? And it's going to also naturally be about a lot more things. It's going to rank reasonably well for some things, maybe great for things you didn't predict, maybe not so great for others. But those are all going to combine to a trackable term pool, right? So I've got my focus term, and then I've got this trackable term pool, all the other stuff that it's going to rank for. Guess what? That's going to be more than what you would predict by just looking at search volume for the one term. So, the old hypothetical here is, I'm going to focus on this keyword and I'm going to get, it's 1,000 search volume and it's, ranking number 5. So, Stephen, how many clicks is that going to get? Right. And so you might look at that and go, okay, well, the click-through rate on position 5 here is even if I'm doing pixel analysis, right, there's going to be about 5%. Okay, 50. Okay? But that's not telling the whole story. Even if you're only accounting for even if you are doing your research to know what that term pool is, right? Those other words that we're going to get access to. So rule number 1, search volume by itself, it forgets about all the other words you're going to rank for. Right? So you need to do better. But there's another piece of this, right? There are piles of words that you won't be able to predict. So there's a concept called, and I'm going to drop to a share screen here. There's a concept called the term pool multiplier. And these are the words that you can't predict that this page is going to get connected to because they may be only searched for once in Google. They may be low volume terms that your favorite keyword research tool, whether you're using SEMrush, Ahrefs, Market Muse, something else, isn't going to have data for, because maybe Google AdWords doesn't report that data. So there's nowhere for the supplementers, whether it's clickstream supplementers, whether it's calculation-based supplementers, which is all platforms, by the way, are either taking Google data and supplementing with clickstream data or supplementing with a proprietary math problem, usually done by pixel analysis of the search result. So no matter how they're doing it, those are the calculations that you need to fix, but there's always going to be this pool. The cool thing about this pool is the more authoritative you are on this topic and semantically related topics, the more topical authority you have, the more access you have to that second orbit. So I always like to think about this target word. First orbit is my knowable term pool. That second orbit and further out, I don't know, right? But the larger and the more powerful your cluster is, will correlate to having more access to more traffic. And this can be extremely meaningful. So you could be going for a target word that has 1,000 search volume. Well, that second orbit of collective of words could be 1,000 to 2,000 visits, right? Which is, 20, 30, 40x, which you would predict by only doing click-through rate analysis. So far, so good?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so by taking that information, it's going to allow you to take better next steps too. So you see a page ranking well for some things and not for others. So what do? Do you improve this page for that term? Do you start writing pages that are adjacent? It's going to help you with content strategy to be thinking about this in the first place, in the second place, but in the first place, it's going to allow you to estimate better. And what I will coach you on today is you want to estimate the most likely lowest traffic this page will get, right? So I will get at least this much. And why? Because I want to predict my outcomes effectively. I want to have efficiency with the content that I create. So if I look at the averages, Stephen, we've done the studies on this. What's the number 10% for content efficiency? Is that right?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So that's where your team is creating content, and for every 10 articles you create, one of them achieves the goals predictively, right? When we work with teams, we're getting that number up to 40 and 50%. So we're going to talk about that and how we might be able to influence it. But we also want to predict, because if you are predicting a minimum of traffic you'll likely get, but then you're only right 10%, right? That's tons of error. And all of these processes, all of these quick tricks that people use go out the window. So we want to take away that we want to be more predictive with what's going to be successful. And then we want our estimates to say, I'm going to at least get this much traffic when there's upside, and here's why. And the upside is going to come from us having existing authority on the topics. All right. So let's show this process and why it fails using only those data points in SEMrush. And then let's look at the common hack and the trick in Ahrefs, two of my favorite workflows. So we're going to look at this as Market Muse. Okay, first thing I'm going to show you, topic cluster, 260. Okay, cool. So again, if you were just doing this, I'm going to rank for topic cluster. How much traffic would I get? So I'm going to get 5%, 10%, 26. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get 10% click-through on this, and I'm going to estimate 26. Nope, I need the term pool. So what might I do? I might add up all these search volumes and then try to calculate it again. I'm still going to be missing quite a bit. All right, so we're going to put a pin in that on search volume. We all know you can't do that. And if you're doing it without understanding the SERP X-ray, the pixel depth, what's out there, what you're competing with, the error is just, you might as well not do it.
Yeah.
I want to dive into keyword difficulty though. So Stephen, give us, your perspective on general difficulty, like that, the industry has working.
Sure. I mean, it's sort of like the same situation with search volume. The problem with keyword difficulty is that, it essentially the whole thing is it applies to everybody, right? It's a generalized metric. If it applies to everyone, that old adage, if it applies to everyone, it really applies to no one.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got it, Stephen. So just like search volume is great, right? It gives me an order of magnitude of interest and demand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole lot, maybe it's a little, maybe it's only a little bit, right? That's all it's really giving me is directional order of magnitude. The same thing goes for general difficulty. And I'll give you the quick litmus test on search volume is last time you did search volume and you estimated traffic, go back and look at it when you actually achieved the ranking and how far off were you, right? You're going to have been significantly off. I believe the averages we looked at, the teams were wrong the majority of time and by more than 100% or something wild like that. Same thing goes for difficulty. And I like this litmus test, right? So this is a 50, this is a 63. Okay. What would you do differently? Right?
Yeah.
These are orders of magnitude. And it's also very biased. And the reason why it's biased is because I'm bringing some bias about who I am to the table. So I'm saying, I believe that I'm about this, not using data. And thus I can use off-page metrics in isolation. So what does that mean? The old process of looking at the top 10 ranking pages and saying, what are their DAs? What are their off-page factors? And saying, I'm a 60. The average here is 60, so I can rank. It assumes that you have authority on that or related topics, because this is topic clusters, but could Market Muse rank for, fine crafted Colombian coffee if it was a 60? No, right? We don't write about coffee. We have no expertise. So you're bringing in some bias naturally, but you don't know how to quantify the bias. The
Right.
bias is competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is topical authority, right? Obviously, the punchline here, Stephen, is that Market Muse calculates topical authority. We all know
Got
that.
it.
But the most important thing you take away here is that if you don't have that, you're bringing in the bias and you're bringing in the error, right? Because you're guessing at that. And then you're guessing at averages and you're guessing why other people rank without actually looking at the quality of their content and without looking at their breadth and depth of coverage. Okay. So I know I've said a mouthful here, but you look at these pages and you say that you can make those assumptions. So here's the other methodology that I love to get a quickie estimate, right? But it's not giving you reliable forecasting. Let's look at a page and say, and I'm going to give you one trick that's actually a really good trick, and then I'm going to give you one that's very error prone. What you'll commonly see is somebody's going to say, look at the range of traffic on Ahrefs or SEMrush is predicting when you search for this result. And it says, basically what this is saying is, if I create a page that ranks for topic cluster, it will, on average, get me the average of all these traffic values. Okay, right? But also you can look at it ranging, from a statistics perspective. At least 97 visits, entrances, and as high as 624. Okay. Reasonable. Okay. Well, the error that's built into that exists in that second orbit, the term pool multiplier. And it also tells the story of 97 versus 624. That's wildly different. Thank you for 32 tracked phrases versus 121. That's 4x, right? It tells a story of what? It tells a story of why Market Muse, HubSpot, SEMrush, Ahrefs are authorities, right? They're getting the bonus. Plus, it tells a story of inaccuracy of reporting. So I'm just going to give you a, quick example of this. Let's use one where we actually know the traffic. 512. Let's see what SEMrush says. 174. Okay, so SEMrush says 174. Ahrefs says 512. What's the real number? You know the real number?
Yeah, you know what? I do. It's around. It's been trending upwards, but it's around 300 or so. I think 300.
It is. You're right. Okay, so you might, if you don't really care about statistical reliability, you go, well, it's in the middle of the two. That's right. Okay, but that's totally lucky that it's in the middle of the two, right?
Yeah.
So 512 over 300, that's a lot more, more than 60% off. 172 on 300, less. What does that do? That's statistically completely unreliable, right? And imagine that every one of these data points is also that unreliable. Okay, what do you get when you get 10 unreliable data points and you smash them together and make an average? You get an unreliable average, right?
Right.
So just be thinking about that. Can you put a finger in the air and guess roughly 300 if you get in this search result? Sure. Can you answer why? Not really. And do you believe that that's going to be accurate and connected to reality? No. The quick trick I'll give you, there's two tricks here. If you don't have the ability to use Market Muse, right, is one, grab all these words and dedupe them into a list, right? At least that's going to give you your trackable term pool. You can get a little bit better, understand all this stuff. And then based on your page's specific intent, really get real particular. Find the pages that have your specific intent and try to look at overlap. 56 over 61 for this one and Jonas's page here, right? What's that SERP similarity? The overlap of that SERP similarity can give you a little bit closer to a better estimate without having authority. But man, that's painful. That's a manual process. All to come to what we already know to be slightly an unreliable process. So far, so good?
Yep.
So, as I typically do, I showed you the hard way. I showed you the error-prone way. I'm going to show you the Market Muse way. So this is Market Muse inventory. This is Market Muse topic inventory that's telling me everything about clusters, 49 concepts that I've analyzed for this example. This is current rankings. What Market Muse gives me is my competitive advantage. It tells me how hard something is going to be to rank for the general populace, and then how hard is it for me. Gives me an advantage of knowing that I might be able to maintain my existing ranking or grow by just updating a page or creating a new page, right? So it's giving me coaching on my momentum and how predictive this goal is, right? So let's go back and I say, hey, Steven, I need you to create this page, please. And you're like, why? I say, well, I think it's an easy win. Why? Well, I know we have great breadth of coverage, depth of coverage, quality of coverage, off-page factors, and momentum here, all composited in topical authority, represented as competitive advantage. And it's telling me that if you go out and create one great page that talks about what is a cluster page from within the concept of topic clusters, what is that cluster page? What's a node? What's a support page, right? It's going to do really well. Cool. How well? All right. Now I have to get into the details. I have to understand, oh, well, actually, Stephen, we've got a collection of pages. We've got 6 or 7. We want to make sure they're all woven together. We can guess better knowing our estimates because we know at least we're going to have access to 1,000 visits across 1,000 more visits across all of these pages. And there's upside from that term pool multiplier because we have that power. We're not working from day one on pink grapefruit seltzer water, right? Guess what? We might get lucky to get one word. It won't be good, right? But if I've already got that mo, I got access to that second orbit. Now, let's take that a step further and look at the individual page and understand it, right? So by understanding the individual page, I can see the concepts that tell the story of expertise. I can understand who's really doing a great job with high quality content, comprehensive content, and who maybe isn't doing all that well. I can understand whether my page is differentiated or if it's just like everyone else's. And by analyzing this at the site level, we can see site level gaps that'll make all boats rise. And when all boats rise, those pages rank well for their target and trackable orbits. And then we overall, as an entire mass of pages, start ranking in for that term pool multiplier. That's what we want. So I look at this stuff. I've got coverage of a lot of these things, but I'm finding things already. Cluster analysis, Stephen.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's an easy winner. As I'm about to show you. All right. Pillar pages, pillar content, internal links. That's amazing, right? But I can also go in and look at the stuff that I am ranking for and that I'm not ranking for through the lens of authority. So I can see the stuff that I'm doing okay with a general page, but specifically I can get quicker paths to win because I know my topical authority. I can also do a better job estimating upside potential because of this. Okay, so being able to understand a site level gap analysis through the lens of topical authority is the critical path to being able to estimate more effectively. Understanding who I'm competing with for this particular term, topic cluster analysis, can also tell me how much work I need to do for this specific page. And in this case, where we are doing really well, but we want to make sure that we're writing the best, most differentiated page in the world, we can then see what people have done. And in this case, people are talking about what is topic clusters. They're not getting into topic cluster analysis, which is something that we do want to get into. And we can see the concepts that everybody covers, to see the concepts that nobody's talking about. Google search, cluster analysis, topic clustering, related topics. Those are concepts that nobody's talking about. I like to say the money's in the red lines of this view, because these are things that Market Muse is saying are covered if you were an expert, but nobody's currently covering them. So just looking at my gaps, clustering algorithm, relevant topics, topic cluster analysis, topic clustering, core topics, broad topics, related topics, digital marketing. These are things that if we were to focus on them would give us a leg up against the current field. And we already know that we have predictably a great chance to succeed if we focus on this word. So that gives me that 1-2 punch. Anything else we want to cover here? Overall, my goal here is to tell teams that they can do a better job getting to a minimum likely traffic this page will get if they use these practices. And more of the content that they create will be successful, thus their hit rate will be more successful. And then they'll be able to predict those outsized winners more successfully. Gosh, that's a long way away from just looking at search volume and multiplying it by 2%, isn't it, Steve?
Oh, it sure is.
Awesome. Well, thanks, SEO Arcade. This is Jeff Coyle and Stephen Jeske from Market Muse, hoping that you stop using search volume in isolation to predict and estimate traffic of your pages. Thanks again.